Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to welcome you to this amazing discussion we will have on the wonderful film, The Tattooed Torah. My name is Miriam Klein Kassenoff, and I'm here to welcome you to the fifth year of the Screening the Holocaust film series, which I founded through the University of Miami Holocaust Teacher Institute, and thanks to the outstanding partnership of the Sue and Leonard Miller Center for Contemporary Judaic Studies and the George Feldenkrais program at the University of Miami, as well as the Holocaust Memorial of Miami Beach of the Greater Miami Jewish Federation, and of course, the Miami Jewish Film Festival. All of our leaders of these organizations, Dr. Chaim Shaked, Mrs. Sharon Horowitz, and Igor Steirenberg, are so proud to be co-sponsoring with me this program today. Now, let's meet all the cast of people present here today who helped make this glorious film a reality, and that we will be in conversation with right after the introductions. So first, let me introduce you to Marc Bennett, the director and the co-screenwriter. Hi, Marc. Then let me introduce you to Ed Asner, the well-known actor and narrator. Hi, Ed.
How do you do?
And let me now introduce you to Lisa Effress, the producer. Lisa, welcome and hello. And after Lisa, let me introduce you to Brett Kopin, the co-screenwriter. Hi, Brett. And to Dr. Kori Street, my colleague and friend, the Senior Director of Programs and Operations at the USC Shoah Foundation. Welcome, Kori. And finally, do not let me overlook the Public Relations Coordinator, Philip Nako, who really did an incredible job pulling us all together, working so hard despite 3 different time zones. So with that quick intro, let me take you back to Marc Bennett, the producer, director, or co-producer, co-screenwriter. Marc, what I would like to ask you is, before I ask the questions that I'm going to get into, I want to tell you that when I first saw this precious film, it really spoke to me and to my heart. I am a child survivor who escaped Nazi Czechoslovakia on the eve of the Holocaust in 1941, on the run and in open hiding for over 7 months through 7 countries. So you can see why the film has touched me so much. I know from your biography, which reads that you are a renowned filmmaker and have made many other films of different genres. So please tell our audience today, what inspired you to write and direct this particular film at this particular time?
Well, thank you for that question, Miriam. And just want to say that it's an honor to be here with this creative team. And I just want to mention we have Martin Lemelman here as well, who is the illustrator of the original book from 30 years ago that we were so lucky to find to come and be a part of making this renowned children's book into a film. So there's Martin, we're glad to have you with us. Basically, I met Brett's mother, Beth Kopin, who is the daughter of Marvell Ginsburg, who wrote the original book 30 years ago, with the intention of creating an educational tool to teach the vital lessons of the Holocaust to young children, which up until then, there had been a tremendous deficit around the world of such material. She met me at an art show in Chicago, showed me the book, And I was so captivated by the illustrations that Martin had done and the concept of the book. And I realized that I had never really heard of or knew of any educational material geared towards teaching the lessons of the Holocaust to young children. And I thought right then and there, what could be more important? And I basically said, I will do this. And here we are 4 years later, after compiling a pretty amazing team with Ed and Lisa and Martin and Brett and our animators. And then on top of that, of forming an affiliation and partnership with USC Shoah Foundation to help distribute this through schools and classrooms around the world through their very powerful online educational platform, Eyewitness. So we, I think we feel this is a blessed project because we all took this on knowing the importance of this vital information and with the goal of reaching as many children and families around the world as possible and hoping to inspire this vital conversation and get it going, because what could be more important than that at this point in time with what's going on in the world?
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you for doing this wonderful, wonderful deed. Now let's turn to your co-screenwriter, Brett Kopin. Brett, what have you to add to your participation as a co-screenwriter, and what inspired you to get involved in this project?
Thank you, Miriam. I also want to say it's an honor to be here, so thank you for having us. So this project was actually my mother's idea, Beth Kopin, and my grandmother, Marvell, who I actually have the Martin's illustrated book right here. She wrote, so my bubby wrote the book, The Tattooed Torah, and my mom had this dream to turn this book into an animated film, and she wanted me to be the screenwriter for it. The biggest piece of that was my bubby and I were always very close, and we especially shared a love for writing. So there was this sort of idea that I would continue the legacy as the writer of this expanded story through the animated film, and that's how I got involved.
How beautiful, and what a tribute to your bubby.
Yeah.
That's just a wonderful, wonderful story. Thank you so much. We'll be back to you. So now I turn to Ed Asner, the narrator of the film. Before I ask the question, Ed, if I may please, let me tell you that I have been a fan for many years. And when I discovered I would have the opportunity today to actually meet you in person and have a conversation with you, I was so overwhelmed. I immediately called all my children and grandchildren and said, guess what? Guess what? So with that said, tell our audience how you got involved in the project and why you agreed to do the narration of the film.
Well, first of all, actors are whores, and we jump at the slightest opportunity to work and make a little money. And in terms of this particular project, there was no money, but of course, it gave me a chance to whip my lips into shape. And I will always, actors will perform, if nothing else, for applause. And that's what I do.
You know, I heard you speak on another program, and you had said that the film touched you because you've always felt this closeness to your Jewish background. So could you say a little bit about that, how when you first saw the film, that it touched you so much that it brought back possibly memories of your early childhood, yeah, go ahead.
No, I come from Kansas City, Kansas. The Kansas side had limited Jews at that time. Jews, of course, when they went into business, always had to take the businesses that were on the lean side of success. then my father chose the junk business. And I was raised as a junkman's son. And my life was exciting. It was mixed with minorities of other types. And I loved it. The business was across the street from the packing house. So I saw nothing but workmen and blood and bellowing cattle all day long. It was exciting and it was fulfilling. And it gave me a sense of my brothers who were not Jewish. And I hope I carry that to this day. The Tattooed Torah has such a compelling idea to it. It makes you a child again. It makes you want to relive those early days of my going to Cheder and having to constantly learn my Hebrew. So it's a whole new experience of reliving, and at the same time recognizing my minority status in heavy shades.
I love that you said that, because you made me feel the same way, that when I watched the film, I thought of my dad, who was a rabbi in Czechoslovakia, with his talit, always studying the Torah. And I wonder what happened to this day to the Torah that my father used. And I agree with you that the film brought back so much feeling and memory for me as a Jewish child in Czechoslovakia, the daughter of a very Orthodox rabbi. So I feel with you when you say that. My emotions are very much with you, and the film just really brings that out for me a great deal. Thank you. I'll come back to you, Ed. But let's meet the producer, Lisa Effress. Lisa, are you there? Can we talk to you a minute?
I'm here.
Okay, because I don't see you, but I know you're there somewhere. Tell us how it is that you got involved and so inspired that you are the producer. And please tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure, I'd love to. First of all,
Oh, there you are. Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. It's really such an honor to be here and to be with all these amazing people as well. Ed, I just want to give you a little bit of a thing that we have in common. I was raised the daughter of a junk man. So yes.
There's nothing more glorious.
No,
Well, this is amazing. I've never heard of any children of junkmen. And in this one evening here, we have 2 adult children of junkmen.
we had our scrap yards were in Mason City, Iowa, where, to your point, Ed, not a lot of Jews there, but my dad was raised there, a young boy, and we had a scrap yard there, and then we had another one in St. Paul, Minnesota. So that's my background there.
You were titans.
Yes, yes, yes.
Titans in the junk business.
Yes, very much.
And how did you get involved in producing the film?
Yes, well, Mark and I go way back. We are dear friends. We've known each other for, gosh, probably 25, maybe 30 years. And Mark called me one day and said, I've got this project. I need a producer. What do you think? And he told me it didn't take long for me to say, sign me up. I'm on board. But once he told me the story of the book and the Tattooed Torah and Beth and Brett and how they wanted to take their mother and grandmother's story and bring it to film, I was so inspired, and it was just a no-brainer for me. I was more than thrilled to be a part of this beautiful and meaningful conversation and film. My daughter, I have a daughter, she's 9 years old now, but when Mark and I first started speaking about this, she was, I want to say 4 or 5 years old at the most. And it was interesting because I was born and raised Jewish and had never thought at that point about how to introduce the subject of the Holocaust to my young daughter. And so when this opportunity came up, I thought, oh, well, this could be the perfect introduction for her. And it turned out to be exactly that. She is a big fan of the film. She has watched it go through all stages of pre-production and production and post-production. And it's just been a really wonderful thing for she and I to share, and for me to also share with my husband as well.
And how old is your daughter again?
She's 9 now, but yeah, so she's kind of.
What is it that speaks to her so strongly about the film? When she talks to you about it, what is it that she says over and over that speaks to her so strongly?
Well, she's a very curious young child, and she asks a lot of questions. And so she's always trying to figure out like who the boy was, and did he ever have a bar mitzvah? Like just questions that kind of resonate with her and her age group. So for her, it was more about the young boy and what happened to him, and just the story itself. But she's also really drawn to the animation. My company works in post-production and animation, so it's part of her life. And so when she can see these beautiful illustrations that Martin did and see them come to life through animation, that's really a wonderful experience for her as well, because it really resonates with her, because that's what I do for work.
You're an animator.
Well, I own a post-production company that does animation.
Well, you know, I want to tell you something interesting about that. Generally speaking, I rarely watch animated films.
What? How dare you?
No. But wait. I love this film. That's why I found all of you. I looked for you. I found you because
humbug.
I watched the film and I went, oh my God, I love this film. And now I'm hooked thanks to the film on animated films. It just was done beautifully. I watched it again and again today. I sat here isolated for 10 months and I just had tears in my eyes. I love the film. I love the animation. So thank you, Lisa. Were you going to say something?
I was. If I could just add one thing. There are many forms of animation, and animation can be 3D animation, 2D animation, stop motion. And I think our goal with the film was to stay true to Martin's beautiful illustrations. And so we never wanted to detract from that. And as I said, my daughter's a 9-year-old. She's seen, dozens and dozens of animated films through Disney and Pixar, and all of them are wonderful. And I was a little concerned initially because I thought perhaps this animation would be too simple for her and that she'd want something more 3D or just more, bigger. And I was very wrong. She was just mesmerized from the first time she saw this animation, and really, it just really didn't matter that it wasn't a Disney or a Pixar film. So.
Thank you for agreeing to do this film. And now we come to Martin. I want to, from all these amazing creative people who made this film, I understand that the film has been submitted for an Oscar entry. Is that true also? And Martin, would you please tell us a lot more now about how you came to do the illustrations? They're just beautiful. And I understand you're a neighbor. Are you in Miami or are you in?
Well, I'm in Del Rey. I used to live in Miami.
Okay.
And now I'm nearer to my grandchildren. So.
I see. So tell us all about your role and the illustrations and your background as an illustrator. They're just beautiful. They really are.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just to let you know, illustration is a get-rich slow scheme. Just for that. But anyway, my role in this film goes back probably almost 25 years, when I got a call to do illustrations for Marvell Ginsburg's amazing words. and I jumped on it. And the reason why I did that was because my parents are Holocaust survivors. I never had grandparents. Okay, I mean, I had grandparents, but they did not survive the Holocaust. So in a way, it really touched me, this book. And I did a lot of different kinds of styles in my illustration. I've had a long career, and I thought that it would be best to do these illustrations as paintings. And I did about 21 paintings for the book. And one of the important things also was to connect my sons. I have 4 sons, and one of the sons I had was the model for the boy in the book. So it was kind of bringing the previous generation connecting to the next generation. That was really important for me. And so my son Ben was the model. And I was very proud of the book, and it got a lot of I got a lot of good input from producing this, illustrating this book. And about 25 years later, I get an email from Beth Kopin, Brett's mother, and said she asked me if I was really interested in doing an animation, and would I speak to Marc Bennett, who was the producer. He's going to go see me. And so I said, sure, that sounds good. And again, now at that point, I had grandchildren. And so it's bringing it over to the 3rd generation. And so I thought that was, again, to be part of this animation was, again, extremely important to me. And so Marc called me up and he said, you're not going to have to do a lot of stuff. You only have to do maybe 10 paintings. And I thought, that's pretty good. I wouldn't mind doing 10 paintings and get be part of this animation. And then he came to my house in Delray, and he he changed his mind a little bit, okay? He said, you know what, we decided we need actually more than 10 paintings. And then he showed me the shot Bible, which has like a zillion drawings in it. And when I plopped on the ground, I'm glad he knew CPR. So I got up and he said, I made a mistake. It's not really 10 illustrations. You need to do over 100 illustrations for the book. And so this was a dilemma, because I'll just show you. This is a painting from the original book. Okay, here's one painting, and here's another painting. And so doing 100 paintings like this was going to be a challenge. And so the challenge was, how do I figure out how to do this? And after a lot of trial and error, I did figure out a very efficient way to try to match the original paintings. And so some of the original paintings were actually used in the animation, but also this is from the original from the movie and not from the book. So I tried to match them pretty closely. And just an interesting thing, it's a learning experience. And one of the things about being an illustrator and about being in the creative world in general, I think whether you're an artist or an actor or a director or producer, you're trying to figure things out, and you learn different things. And so just to show you, this was one of the, from the shot Bible, this is the scene which needed 2 paintings, one of the boat and one of the Statue of Liberty. And so I did this. This is the original of the Statue of Liberty. And it actually takes about less than 3 seconds in the movie, okay? But it was a lot of work to do. And then when I saw the draft of it, it was interesting. The Statue of Liberty's head was cut off. And I said, I worked so hard on this head. So I called Marc up, please put the head back in. And so he did. And so it was an honor to work with everybody, the musician, Daniel Alshay, the musician, the animators, Jeffrey Piddle and Christian Robbins, and everybody. It was just a wonderful experience.
I love your story about the Statue of Liberty, because when I arrived in America in 1941 on the last ship that left from Portugal, my dad and I stood on the deck and he pointed out that Statue of Liberty to me. Mark, you want to comment back to him about the Statue of Liberty and how you restored it for him in the movie?
Well, it's, animation is a process. So, you go through many stages, but we got it in and we're all happy. And, it was working, with Martin was a true joy. This was my first animated project. So it was a learning experience for myself too. But it took us about 4 years from start to finish. And I must say that every step along the way was enjoyable, from the initial writing with Brett to the working on the illustrations with Martin, to working with Ed on the recording of the voiceover, and just all the talented people at Lisa's company, $11 Bill in Boulder, Colorado. It takes a real village to make something like this happen. And then all the feedback along the way from people like Kori and Stephen Smith from USC Shoah Foundation, that just were totally supportive and encouraging of us to create something that would really work as not only an entertainment vehicle as a film, but also as an educational tool that could be potentially shown to children all over around the world, which really made it exciting. And so far the reaction has been so wonderful, and we're just really excited that people are resonating with it, that people are feeling that it really works as an educational tool, and that it's really a palatable and entry-level way to introduce this very delicate and interesting subject matter to children, especially when it's such a horrific subject. So it's, I think we really just followed Marvell Ginsburg's lead with the way she did the book, and tried to stay true to it all along. Because she was so successful in making that story palatable for young children. So we just really followed her lead, and I think we're all very grateful how it turned out, and really excited for the future of it.
Thank you. And that leads me, a wonderful segue into speaking with Kori. So let me introduce you all to Dr. Kori Street. And let me tell you something, that for the past 20 years, when I hold my teacher training institutes here in Miami for the University of Miami, we have over 100 to 150 teachers attend every June for 5 days. And Kori has been coming every single year. No matter where she is in the world, she makes sure she flies into Miami, stays at a hotel the night before, quickly comes in the next morning, explains to the teachers about the Shoah Foundation, registers them all on the spot, and does a whole day of educational training for me as a favor. So Kori and I have worked together for the past 20 years. And when I heard that you were going to come on today, boy, was I thrilled. Kori, we have a lot to talk about here about the wonderful film and its educational use and what the Shoah Foundation is preparing. Before you get to that, as I was watching the film again this morning, it occurred to me all the various areas that this film works for curriculum for any age, really. It addresses geography, vocabulary, learning Zeta, Bar Mitzvah, Shabbat, all these terms. synagogue, what the Torah means, what's a bar mitzvah, who were the Nazis, who were the Jews, menorah, the Star of David. I could go on, but that's what I saw immediately. And so now let me have your thoughts.
Well, it's always great to see you, Miriam. And you know, to Martin's earlier point, education's probably a slow boat to never being rich, but I'm thinking of becoming a junk titan thanks to Lisa and Ed. So, but the movie, the Tattooed Torah, Marc's work really enriches us. So I guess, you know, money is not necessary when we get to work on these kinds of things. You know, you're right, Miriam, in terms of the cross-curricular intersections with this. And this is one of the reasons that we got behind this film and have introduced it into the Eyewitness platform. And we're thrilled that it will go live in about a week on the Eyewitness platform with a series of activities. And as Marc can attest, we just did a Canadian premiere of the Tattooed Torah, and over 11,000 teachers signed up their classes to watch it from literally coast to coast to coast. And one of the activities that they did before they viewed the film was really around social emotional learning and thinking about what's precious to you. So in the pre-activity, the students were thinking about, well, what's my most precious possession? And they were talking about their laptops, their iPads, like things that are very now. After watching the film, when they come back to that question and they explore through testimony as well as the film, they start to think about the artifacts in their life that are attached to memories. So that notion, as Ed was saying, about how this takes you back, how this this takes you into a time and makes you want to think about that. This is very powerful for young people, particularly primary school age children, to start to think about in this time of materialism, what does it mean to have those precious possessions that can carry you spiritually and emotionally through time, and how does that link to those memories? And we've already had feedback from teachers about the power of something like that in their classrooms with their young students.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because memory is such an important key point in all the works that we teach. Elie Wiesel's work stresses memory. Mm-hmm. And I'm amazed to hear, though, that young students would pick up on that. Mm-hmm. And I love the idea of doing an activity and asking, what's your most precious possession before the film, and then after the film, their value changes so much. Mm-hmm. When will the curriculum and the film be available for the world? Like, believe me, it took a lot on my part to control myself with the promise that I made to all of you, not to forward the film to my grandchildren and to my children, because I know that that's the promise I made. But I know that people who are watching us right now, who may not have yet seen the film or want to share it and say, hey, you got to listen to this discussion and see this film, how is it going to become available, and when is it going to become available?
Well, the when is on February 9th. So if they go to eyewitness.usc.edu, they can get access to all of these resources and engage with their students with this. And I think it's a remarkable time to bring this to the world, really. I think, Marc, you alluded to this, but we're already well along the way to preparing this for Spanish, and we have a Spanish language program that will launch this spring. And we're also talking to partners worldwide about launching this in other languages, so including for our next Canadian premiere to have it in both of the official languages, but also in Hungary and Poland and Czech Republic or Czechia and Scandinavian countries. So we have these partnerships that will take the activities and the film to a growing number of global children. And if you could think about just that question of what's precious, and we all have things that are precious, but then to be able to talk about with people from all different cultural backgrounds, race, ethnicities, that notion of what's precious to the Jews in the film is the Torah. So what are the things that are also precious about you? And where these stories can connect us and where the archive brings us these stories are how other people are connecting to what's precious to them. And that becomes the student story that connects them. Then that learning can be carried over. And I think that is a powerful co-curricular outcome, to see how universally these concepts link us when there's so many differences that are trying to separate us. And I think that's a big power of what this film can help us do going forward.
Thank you. You so articulate. Do I have a commitment from you in front of the world right now that you will come again in June and teach our teachers at the Miami June Institute? Do I have that commitment from you, Kori?
Absolutely, Miriam. I had my ticket this year, but the university said I couldn't travel. I mean, I thought, what the heck, pandemic, schmandemic, I can get to, see Miriam.
Well,
but
I think it might be virtual again.
All right. Well, I will definitely always be there in June.
The one of the comments I wanted to make about the film and its relevance right now is in the state of Florida, the legislature has added a piece to the mandate to teach the Holocaust, that we also have to teach the anti-Semitism. And one of the beauties of this film, and by the way, a lot of people out there are seeing this talk and then seeing the film again, or for the first time, or will pass it on. So a quick recap, it's the story of a Czechoslovakian Jewish boy who's about to be bar mitzvahed, and his grandpa Zeta gives him a Torah. And they're about ready to get ready for the bar mitzvah when the Nazis come into Czechoslovakia. They take the boy away, they take the Zeta away, and they take the Torahs away to a warehouse. And it turns out that the Zeta and the boy will be working in that warehouse. And all the little boy really wants is to find that Torah and to bring that Torah back to his life. And after the war, which you'll see in the film, that happens. And the reason it's called Tattooed Torah is because the Zeta put a little note in there. So I think that what's a very important part of the film here is that it will teach so many of our non-Jewish children so much about the beauty of the Jewish culture and how important the Torah is as part of that. This has been an amazing afternoon that we have experienced here. And I'm wondering, before we close it, if I go around the room, if each of you might have a closing statement that you might want to make about your experience of working with the film, what you hope will happen in the future with it, or whatever. So Brett, we haven't talked to you in quite a while. Is there a last comment that you might want to make, after all, as a very important part of this film?
Thank you, Miriam. I just want to say I've really enjoyed listening to everybody speak so beautifully about the Tattooed Torah. Kori, I'm really excited for the launch that's coming up. And from the very beginning, this film was meant to spark conversations around the world, very important conversations, whether it's about Judaism, whether it's about each culture's sacred objects, what's most important for us. And my hope for the film is that it just, as it spreads throughout the world, it continues to spark those conversations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Lisa? Did you have any final comment that you might want to make?
Yes, thank you so much. I would just like to say that I think it goes without saying we all have seen a recent surge in anti-Semitism and genocide and hatred around the world. And my hope and dream is that this film not only helps educate people from all across the globe, but also helps us not lose the memory, not let the memory fade of the Holocaust and the atrocity that it was.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa. And Ed, do you have any final comment that you'd like to make?
Well, the title of our piece, Tattooed Torah, is a wonderful juxtaposition of something scarifying and something holy. And I think that the combination of these two things, the bizarre and the holy, give this story a powerful meaning beyond its title. I hope that people see it, are encouraged by it, learn from it, and that it is used as a weapon not just for anti-Semitism, but against racism and prejudice throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those beautiful words. Martin, last thoughts? You're muted, Martin.
Oh,
Last.
yes, I just wanted to agree with Ed. I think we live in South Florida, which has so many different cultures and so many different religions and beliefs. And this movie is not only for Jewish kids, but for kids to understand that each culture is important and the objects of their beliefs should be cherished and respected.
Thank you, Martin. Kori, last thoughts, you're muted.
First, I just want to say thank you to all of you on this call. I mean, without the beautiful story, Brett, and the concept, the wonderful drawings from Martin, without Ed's voice bringing it to life, and you know, the vision of the production team, Lisa, and we don't have these things, and these are powerful resources that can make connections to students, particularly where they are. And I think the real power of this film is that it's not only about the horror, but it's also about the hope. It's about hard-fought hope. It's about resilience and, you know, finding hope in the midst of hate. And I think that's important right now as well. And I think, you know, I agree, Ed, with what you said. It is important that we have these films, these concepts, these ideas that can touch students, get them thinking, but also get them feeling, that can touch them in so many ways, and hopefully activate them to be stronger than hate, to be, you know, hopeful when they're experiencing hate, and find a way through it and beyond it.
Thank you, Kori. And Marc, the director and the creative thought behind this film. And I hope that when you get up to get your Oscar award, that I'll be available to stand there with you. Any last words?
I wish you were the only voter on the committee. I think for me, it's just really exciting and a true honor to be a part of some creative project such as this that has such a strong and important message, especially in today's times, and to have attracted such an incredible group of talented and passionate professionals to join this journey and take it unrelentingly and with such enthusiasm and gusto, including yourself for having us today and making this program happen. And it also goes back to a discussion we had on one of our last Q&As with Ed and Stephen Smith, where we were talking about that even though these are Jewish themes in this film, there are so many larger themes that are just universal. And even though they're meant to show things about Jewish culture and tradition and atrocities, there is a bigger message here that applies to everybody. And I think to be a part of something with that universal of a message that we all share the feeling that it's really important to get it out into the world. I'd say that's pretty much the most exciting part of this for me. And just the fact that we're here today being a part of the Miami Jewish Film Festival and your program is what an incredible honor. And I hope this is just the beginning.
It has been an absolute joy for me. And talk about perseverance. I've really persevered to find all of you. So allow me a moment for this last comment. I am very honored to have met you all. I feel blessed that I can be a part of this project, as do our partners that I previously mentioned. In a time when we have indeed seen a rise in anti-Semitism, I feel this film will fill a niche that has been needed, particularly for our younger students, so that they can learn about the beauty of the Jewish culture and what was stolen from them during the Holocaust. More important, I see this as a film that ends with a spirit of hope, resilience, and survival. Despite all odds, he found his little Torah, and it still is with us in a synagogue in Chicago. So, as a child survivor of the Nazi Holocaust, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this beautiful film. And with that, I will reluctantly say lehitraot, bracha, shalom, and goodbye to all of you until we meet again another time. Thank you very, very much, all of you.